Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our monthly Hacking the Human Security series. Today's webinar is on social media dangers. So let's jump right in and get started. So first, a little bit about itSynergy. There is a picture of me. My name is Michael Kochnour. I'm the president of itSynergy and also a certified ethical hacker. A little bit of background on itSynergy. The company was founded in 1997, so this is our 21st anniversary. We work with small and mid-sized businesses, and the saying that we have is anything technology related is my problem, not your problem. So we take on the role of anything technology in a small and mid-sized business. As I mentioned, I am a certified ethical hacker. So what does that mean? That means that I have all of the training, knowledge, and tools of a hacker, but I am ethically bound to use my powers for good and not evil. And so that's part of why we're here today, is that I am personally on a mission to address the growing cybersecurity issues in our society through education. So let's talk about why are we here today? Why do we put on this monthly Hacking the Human webinar series? Well, back in 2014, IBM did a study that found that 95% of all security incidents involved human error. That study was then followed up with a couple of studies in 2015, the first one by CompTIA that found that human error accounted for 52% of the root cause of security breaches, and Experian that found that employees and negligence are the leading cause of security incidents but remain the least reported issue. And so clearly you can see from these studies that if we can just provide people the education and make them knowledgeable about how to avoid cyber attacks, we'll be able to eliminate the overwhelming majority of cybersecurity issues. And so our goal in the next 14 minutes is to give you some quick action items to help you be security smart. And I would encourage you to join us on the second Thursday of every month. So we're here every month on the second Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Arizona time for a new topic. And we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. So today we're talking about the dangers of social media. So let's go. Let's jump right in. So what is the problem? Why are we talking about dangers of social media? Well, I asked this question somewhat sarcastically. Has anyone seen any news stories recently about any social media companies? Of course, I say that sarcastic because we have been blanketed wall to wall for the last couple of weeks with Facebook and their challenges and their stock price and their CEO's testimony before Congress this week. And so we've heard a lot about the issue with Cambridge Analytica, where Facebook had a researcher that developed an app that collected some data off of Facebook. He subsequently passed that data along to Cambridge Analytica, and Cambridge Analytica then utilized that data reportedly in the presidential campaign. And so this really exposed the amount of information that Facebook has on us and the fact that we're not really aware of who else has that information or where that information goes. And so that's really what kind of launched us into talking about dangers of social media. And as users of free services on the internet, so when I talk about free services, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Facebook, I'm talking about Gmail, I'm talking about Instagram, I'm talking about Twitter, I'm talking about all these things. These things are all free to us. But I'm sure that everyone can recognize that it's not free to run all of the technology and pay all of the people that are behind those sites and that give us that technology. And so we have to realize that there is value in what we're trading for those free apps. So those companies aren't just investing all that money in people and technology out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because they're getting something of value in return. And so we need to be cognizant of how valuable that information is and then utilize that to make smart, conscious decisions about what we do with that information and how we share it. And I think a lot of the problem is just that we aren't aware of exactly what we are sharing. And so a lot of times, and we're going to talk more about this today, you may be sharing a lot more information than you realize that you're sharing with these companies. And so once we know what we're sharing, once we get some visibility into that, we can then start to make choices about what we're okay with and what we aren't okay with. So to be clear, this is definitely not a Facebook bashing session today, and I use Facebook myself, and I'm not suggesting that what they are doing is wrong or right. I'm simply suggesting that let's be aware of what information they have on us so that we can then make choices about whether we're okay with sharing that information or not okay with sharing that information. So you say, I'm in. Okay, what do I need to know? Well, as I mentioned, step one is let's figure out what's shared. What have we given these companies in terms of our personal information? And so because Facebook is so prominent in the news right now, let's start out by figuring out what Facebook knows about you. And what I think you'll see when we go through this process is that most people are surprised when they figure out exactly what Facebook knows about them. I think that you're going to be shocked at the depth and amount of information that Facebook has on you, and also the fact that they have this information literally going back to the moment that you joined Facebook. And so we're going to talk about how to get your information from Facebook, review exactly what it is that they know about you, and you'll be able to see just how much information they've collected. Now, we're going to go through these steps relatively quickly, but rest assured that this is being recorded and will be published to our YouTube channel shortly. And we'll have more information about how to get to that at the end of the webinar in case you want to go through and watch it again. So how do we get our information from Facebook? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open Facebook on a computer. So this is not something you can do on your phone or your iPad. You're going to want to open the information from a computer because ultimately that's going to be where you're going to want to read the information from. And you're going to open settings in Facebook. So the way that you do that is you click the triangle in the upper right corner and then choose settings. So here's a screenshot of what that looks like. So that little white triangle at the upper right corner, you're going to click on that. That drops down this menu. And then you can see the settings choice down there at the bottom, the second one up from the bottom. So you're going to click settings. When you click settings, that's going to take you to the settings screen, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then at the bottom of the page, you're going to see a link that you can click to download a copy of your Facebook data. So let's see what that looks like. So this is what the settings page looks like. So in the previous step, when you click settings, it'll take you to this screen. And then you can see on this screen, I put a big red circle with an arrow around it. Obviously, that doesn't appear when you go and do this on your account, where it says download a copy of your Facebook data. So you're going to click on that link where it says download a copy. Once you have clicked on that link, then you're going to go have a cup of coffee or take a break or take a walk around the block or whatever you want to do. And the reason is that Facebook is going to take a little bit of time to prepare your data. So depending on how long you've been on Facebook, how much data you have given to Facebook, how active you are on Facebook, how many Facebook features you use, like if you also use Facebook Messenger or if you use third-party apps, all of those things contribute to how much data Facebook has on you. And so they're going to take a little bit of time to prepare your data. My experience is that the amount of time obviously depends on how much data there is, and what we just talked about are all the factors that can affect how much data there is. And the time range usually goes from somewhere between a couple of minutes to closer to an hour. So if you're a super active user on Facebook and you use a lot of different Facebook apps like Messenger and third-party apps, and you're also very, very active, then you're probably going to be a longer time to prepare your data because they've got a lot of information on you. If you're a little bit less active on Facebook, don't post as much stuff. So I personally am not super active on Facebook. I'm more of a consumer of information on Facebook rather than a provider of information on Facebook. So in my case, it only took a few minutes. So once they have prepared your file, they will send you an email to let you know that it's ready. It'll also show up on the Facebook screen as well to let you know that it's ready. And what they're going to do is they're going to give you a zip file. So when that file is ready, you'll be able to download a zip file. That's how Facebook is going to provide it to you. You're going to save that that zip file in your computer. And the name of the file is going to be called Facebook-yourname.zip. So whatever your name is, whatever Facebook knows your name to be, that's the name of the zip file that they're going to give you. So you've got to get that and you've got to store that on your computer. And then once you have it on your computer, you need to unzip the file. And so the way that you do that is on Windows, you can simply right-click on the file and choose Extract All, and that will extract all the files into a folder. And on a Mac, you can just double-click the file, and that will extract all the files into a folder. And the folder will have the same name, so it'll be Facebook-your name will be the name of the folder that it will be unzipped to in both cases by default. And so then what you're going to do is that folder that it unzips, you're going to open that folder that the files were unzipped to, which is going to be named the same as the zip file, and you're going to look at the information that's inside there that Facebook has sent you. So this is a sample. When you have downloaded that zip file and unzipped it, this is what it's going to look like. So you can see the folder there at the top is named Facebook-Michael Kokenauer. And then you see there I have 3 folders, HTML, messages, photos, and index.htm. And so this is what is inside that zip file that Facebook sends you. And this is actually all of the data that Facebook has. So what you're going to do is you're going to double click on that index.html file from the previous screenshot, and that will open your data archive in a web browser on your computer. And at that point, you can then start to review all of the things that Facebook has collected on you over the years. And so the way that it's going to work is you can navigate to different sections by clicking the links on the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see links for things like your profile information, events that you've registered for, messages, your settings, your devices, all kinds of different things. There's probably, I don't know, 10-ish links on the left-hand side. And then each time you click a link on the left-hand side, it's going to show you the detail for that area over on the right-hand side. And so you can just navigate through and look through each one of those links on the left and then the detail on the right to see all of the information that Facebook has collected on you. Now, let me give you some things of note to kind of look for as you're browsing through this data. So the ads section, which is one of the links on the left-hand side, tells you what Facebook thinks you are interested in. So this, for me, I always felt was an interesting exercise because obviously Facebook tries to figure out what you're interested in based on what you do and what you like and who your friends are and what you interact with and all those types of things. And so that ads section tells you what it thinks you're interested in. So I think if you review that list, you'll probably find in a lot of cases they're correct. And those are things that you're interested in, but then you may also find a few items in there that you kind of scratch your head and are wondering, how is it that Facebook thinks I'm interested in this particular topic? Another thing to watch for as you're reviewing all of these different sections, and I've seen this information in several different sections, is watch in the notes, and there's a lot of very detailed information in this data that you're going to download for Facebook. Watch for latitude and longitude information. And that'll be expressed, you'll see the words latitude and longitude, and then it will have a big decimal number with lots and lots of decimal places after it. Recognize that when you see latitude and longitude information, that is Facebook tracking where you are to a very, very precise level. And when I say a very precise level, I mean within a few feet, they're tracking where you are. So you can look at what the latitude and longitude are attached to figure out different things where there are different instances where they're tracking your location. So for example, if you have signed up for an event on Facebook, it actually has the latitude and longitude of that event. So they can tell you not only that you signed up for that event, that you were interested in that event, etc., but that you actually attended the event and physically where you were when you attended the event. So, and as I said, latitude and longitude, depending on your settings, may be in lots of different places throughout your data. So that's something to watch for. Another thing that's interesting too, and this gets a little bit technical, so bear with me, is that even when they don't have your precise location information, so even where you don't see latitude and longitude information, one of the things that you'll see a lot of times in this Facebook data is you will see a note that they have estimated your location based on IP. So IP is an address that is assigned to a device like a computer or a phone or an iPad or anything like that. That is effectively the unique address for that device on the internet. So obviously there are millions and millions of different devices on the internet. Each device that is on the internet has a unique IP address. And Facebook tracks your IP address in very, very detailed fashion. And when they don't have location information, maybe because your privacy settings are set up not to share that information, they will try to estimate it based on your IP address. And so that is very interesting. And then last kind of thing to note is if you look at the message tab and then click on anyone's name in the list, you will be able to see a history of every single message that you have ever communicated with that person since you have been on Facebook. So something else to watch out for. And then I just want to kind of wrap up by saying, keep in mind that Facebook is the one that's in the news right now and the spotlight is on right now. But remember that it's not just Facebook that is collecting this data. So Facebook also owns Instagram and WhatsApp, and they say in their user agreement that they share data between the three of those companies. Google reads your Gmail to figure out what to advertise to you. So they're actually looking at the content of your emails to figure out what you're interested in and then advertising to you appropriately. And then remember that advertising doesn't only happen when you're on the particular sites of the social media company. So for example, Facebook is not just tracking you when you're on Facebook.com, but they can also track what you're doing on other websites completely away from Facebook as well. And there are a lot of very technical, tricky tricks, which we aren't going to get into today, that they use where they can track what sites you've been to and other places that you've been, not just Facebook. And then finally, remember on the overall topic of privacy that it's not just social media that's tracking you. Even, your grocery store tracks. If you think about when you go to the grocery store and you pull up to the checkout aisle with your cart, the first thing that you're going to punch in is your phone number. And so that essentially associates you with all of the purchases that you're about to make. And you can imagine if I could review a complete history of everything you've ever purchased at a grocery store, I'd probably be able to draw a lot of conclusions about you. So just be mindful of privacy. Don't think about just social media. Think about your entire life. And as I said, I'm not advocating that you should or should not share information with any of these organizations. I'm saying just be aware of what you're sharing and then make a decision about whether you're okay with that. So thank you very much for joining us. I want to get you out of here on time today in 15 minutes. As I said, my name is Michael Kokenauer. I'm the president of itSynergy. We do this webinar every month. Our next webinar is going to be on May 10th. You can register for that webinar right now at itsynergy.com/webinar. Our topic next month is going to be spring cleaning. So I'm going to talk about spring cleaning from a technology standpoint, and I'm going to give you the 10 things that you should do to get your technology life in order and prepare yourself for a good summer. These webinars are the second Thursday of every month at 11:30 a.m. And all of our past webinars are on our YouTube channel, which you can find at itsynergy.com/YouTube. And this webinar will be posted there shortly so that you can go back and watch it again. Thanks very much for joining us and have a great day.